Welcome to the Big Game Hunting Podcast, where we help hunters like you prepare for the big game hunting adventures you've always dreamed of. Now, here's your host, John McAdams.
Hello, John McAdams here. Welcome to episode 341 of the Big Game Hunting Podcast. Cable Smith from the Lone Star Outdoor Show is joining us on the show today to talk about some of his recent experiences hunting with a couple different types of Nosler bullets. So specifically, we'll talk in detail about how the legendary Nosler Partition and Nosler AccuBond have performed for him on a couple different hunts and a couple different situations on different animals. And he has also had some experience afield with the new Nosler Whitetail Country line with their solid base bullet. So we'll dive right into things with Cable and talk about how that ammo performed for him. Well, good afternoon, Cable. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast again. It's always great to talk to you.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for having me, John. It is great to be back.
Yeah, definitely. So you have had some good hunting experiences using some Nosler bullets that I introduced you to, I guess, last year since the last time we talked. And I wanted to dive into some of the details of what you've used, what you've shot with it, how it performed, all of that stuff. And maybe we'll share some of that stuff with the audience.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I got, you told me how great Nosler was. And so I called him up and actually, I ran into him at the Safari Club show.
Yeah. So, you and I actually met for the first time there, too.
Yeah. And started visiting with Maddie, who's become a new friend, a good friend. And we ended up working out a deal. And, yeah, I'm thrilled, dude. I'm so pumped to be shooting Nosler bullets. And I now am pretty well versed. Well, you told us about the history, John Nosler shooting that moose. Mm-hmm. I think he had to shoot it like 8 times, and he was like, "There's got to be a better way here. These are good shots." They weren't getting the penetration, right? So
that's right. Yep.
And that's where ultimately the partition, was developed, was because of that experience. And so I ended up taking my 300 Win Mag, which is a Mossberg Patriot, to Africa, and took the partition, which that is a 180 grain bullet. Got the box right here. Mm-hmm. And immediately my PH was like, "Oh, you finally brought real bullets with you. Congratulations. This is Safari number 7. Yeah. Yeah. Carl and I had a good laugh about that.
We don't have to dunk on who you had been, whose stuff you had been hunting in the past, but it is funny though. Like, you go talk with an outfitter in Africa or in Canada or whatever that guides hunts for big animals or whatnot. Like, the Nosler Partition's always one of those bullets. They're like, "Oh yeah, you got that. You're in good shape."
Yeah. Yeah. He was like, "Well, you're finally a professional hunter." Like, Carl, I've been doing this 15 years ago, but he's like, "Yeah, but now you finally have a real bullet. So you've arrived. Congratulations."
So what all did you end up shooting with those 180 partitions for your 300 Win Mag?
I shot a Cape Mountain Zebra, shot that one in the chest at off sticks. That was like, I think 220 yards. So not the best setup. Anytime you're shooting off sticks, there's a little increased margin for error, just not as stable as you would be as if you were prone. Mm-hmm. But when your PH tells you, if you're comfortable, take the shot. I don't argue with him. That's what he wants me to do. That's why he is the professional hunter, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So I shot it, and the Zebra was the bullet, amazing penetration, but surprisingly the Zebra was, it was dead on its feet, but it took a couple minutes, and it was just a super tough son of a gun. So I ended up shooting it one more time, broadside, and that one was absolutely devastating.
So that first shot, was it straight on facing you?
Yeah, straight frontal. Uh-huh.
Where'd you hit it in the chest?
Just like bam, center mass. I'm envision looking like through the animal where his heart and lungs should be, mm-hmm. and just putting it basically halfway, Right where Donald Trump is on my T-shirt, right on his nose there. Yeah.
There you go. All right. So
it's all on video, so you can go back and look at it, and it's like, man, that was the kind of that we were like, man, that was a really good shot. And then it was like, yeah, but zebras are just tough. A lot of African game is tougher than what we're accustomed to here.
So you hit him in the chest straight on. You said the bullet penetrated well. Did you recover the bullet, or did it exit?
I didn't find that one. No.
Yeah, it just went into the guts and disappeared, huh?
Yeah, we didn't go digging around in the guts for it. The other one they dug out of the opposite shoulder. The second shot.
Oh, okay. All right. So it was close to broadside on that one. You shot it like actually on the shoulder, went through, and you found it in the offside shoulder, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, which is, I mean, obviously preferable is a broadside shot, but the zebra is standing there looking at us and like, well, the gig's up, so it's now or never.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, but I have done a lot of shooting off sticks over the years on mostly international hunts. I don't really do a lot of shooting off sticks at home. I don't think a lot of Americans do, really.
No, that's always a challenging part of that first safari for an American hunter if they've never done it before. There's a little bit of a learning curve to it, and usually you pick it up fast, but if you've done it before, it's easier. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I remember the first animal I ever shot off sticks was a zebra 8 years ago. Different species of zebra. But yeah, and I was a little, a little nervous. But you see that first animal go down and you're like, all right, it's like you get the hang of it pretty quick.
We'll take a quick tangent here. You said you shot a mountain zebra. My dad shot a Hartman mountain zebra in Namibia many years ago, but this is a Cape mountain zebra in South Africa. Yeah. Have you been able to bring it home?
No. And they're saying that the U.S. is going to start importing them, but there's a little conservation backstory, which I'm sure is why you mentioned that. So this zebra was really hunted almost to extinction because of its cape, and the Cape mountain zebra has darker stripes. I mean, they just look darker than, I say, the Burchell's. I've shot a couple Burchell zebras too. And then the cool thing is the stripes go all the way down to the hoof, whereas most other zebra species, they cut off like right about above the knee.
Okay.
This one goes all the way down. Striking smaller zebra species than, say, the Hartmans or Burchells. And their numbers got down into literally like a couple hundred. And because of ranchers and hunters seeing the value of these species, not wanting the species to go away, essentially, they took, I think, half of those existing animals that were left and put them in a national park. And so they're doing very well. And this is 50 years ago. This isn't a new thing. And then the rest was kind of dispersed among the private community. And now there's 8,000 of these things on the Eastern Cape. 8,000's a lot. And if hunters were, taking, let's just say 100 every year, that number of 8,000, and Carl was like, dude, it would go to 16,000 in 5 years. Because there would be an increased value on it, because right now I have all these zebra and like you shooting one because we're trying to tell a story to put pressure on the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to start letting people import them and tell this conservation success story. But if, other hunters could, and the crazy thing is Mexican, German, Spanish, whatever, they can all import them. This is our stupid government.
So it's legal to hunt them. It's legal to export them from South Africa. You could take them to other countries, but not here yet. So, well, we're recording this the day after the election, maybe with a new head of Fish and Wildlife and whatnot coming into the U.S. government here in the next few months. We might see a change of tactics with that, or a change of policy.
Yeah, fingers crossed, because there's really no scientific reason to keep thwarting that. So. All right, but we knew that going into it. So
yeah. Okay, that's really cool. You're one of the first people I've ever actually talked to in person that has hunted mountain zebra in South Africa. Namibia, different story. But in any case, so you shot it twice with 180 grain partitions. What did its chest cavity look like when you guys opened it up?
Oh, dude, it wasn't a pretty picture. Just like vitals pretty much eviscerated. Just. How you get all that coagulated blood in there, and it's just like, what am I even looking at this point? It's just a big old bloody mess, which sounds graphic and stuff, but that's what you want as a hunter. Like,
yeah, it's that balance you're trying to strike where you want it to cause enough damage to kill it quickly, but not like so much that you're just completely destroying the animal
right.
in the process.
Mm-hmm.
So you shot this zebra 220, 300 Win Mag partition. What else did you take on that hunt with it?
I think the next thing I shot was a red lechwe, super cool species. Not even native to South Africa. They are actually, what did Carl tell me? They might be native to Namibia.
I think Botswana is where
Botswana. No, it is Botswana. There's a population in Botswana, and then there's one tiny population elsewhere. But there's more red lechwe in South Africa now than there are in Botswana.
Mm-hmm.
And they won't. I don't think they'll let you hunt them in Botswana. Which again, going back to, okay, well, let's do some math and talk about science. Like, why are we having more of this species in a place they're non-native to? Well, it's because those people are stewards of the red lechwe.
Mm-hmm.
Botswana, it's like, no, you can't export them, so nobody can hunt them. So where's the value?
About how physically big is a red lechwe?
I was pretty surprised how stout the animal was, and this was a mature bull. And I would say certainly bigger than a big mule deer. So I was guessing 325 to 350 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was quite 400, but it was a big animal.
So bigger than an impala, but not as big as a kudu or a water buck or something.
Yeah, in that range. Mm-hmm.
And so, what was the story with that one?
So that was a spot and stalk. We ended up using some elevation change and kind of got to a place where I could get set up prone, and then it was just backache because we had to lay there forever. They were kind of feeding towards us at like 500, 600 yards, something like that. And then I think I ended up shooting it at, it was under 300 yards. I think it was maybe 280. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't super far. I was prone. He was broadside. And I mean, it just slammed him. He jumped and then ran about 20 yards and fell over. Was stone dead. So
he was standing up, feeding. You shot him broadside, and then he just took off running and then collapsed after a little bit.
Yeah, he didn't go far. Yeah.
Did that bullet exit?
That bullet did exit. Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't find that one. Yeah. Clean pass through both shoulders. I mean, devastating.
Yeah, just what you like to see when you get a kind of a clean shot like that. Both of these shots we've talked about haven't been super close either, not super far away, but kind of a mid-range shot like that, especially for something like a partition. So what else did you end up taking in Africa?
I shot my biggest kudu so far. First one I've gotten that was over 50 inches. I think he was 53 3/4, which was good because we wanted to stay under 54 because the price jumped a little bit. But and that was a 575-yard shot.
Holy cow.
And I'll be honest, like I wasn't super comfortable with that because I was shooting off of a tripod.
Ooh.
But I was sitting down and I was shooting up onto a mountain. And I had to like kind of lean back. And so one of the tripod legs wasn't in the ground. Mm-hmm. And so really it was shooting off of a bipod at 575 yards. And Carl's like, all right, shoot him. I'm like, okay, this is going to be like the moment where I'm going to have to focus the most on this safari. And I made a shot. It actually hit him back. And this is what it is. Mm-hmm. The kudu disappeared into the brush and we found him again pretty easily. And then, they do things different sometimes in third world countries. Like if you saw him again here, number one, if you were hunting elk, number one, you don't have a tracking dog, right? Mm-hmm. So you're going to shoot it again regardless and put another bullet in it and get the animal down. That's what you're going to do. Mm-hmm. There he's like, don't shoot it again. We're just going to push him down the mountain with the dog. And the dog pushed him down the mountain, and when we got to him, he was dead. Literally right there. I mean, it works out like a perfect plan.
Interesting. I've never heard of anyone doing that before.
I've seen it multiple times over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they work smarter, not harder, I guess. But there is that part of you that's, as a hunter, you're like, well, I'd really rather just try to shoot it again here and put him out of his misery.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a fatal shot, and although it was back. I mean, like, that bullet did enough damage to where his I mean, it's graphic, but his entrails were all hanging out, like, and there was blood everywhere. It was like a crime scene. So he was.
So when you say you hit him too far back and you hit him in the entrails, did you clip the back of the lungs? Did you hit the liver too? Do you know?
No. It just totally smashed right through his guts. Like I said, not the shot that I'm the most proud of, but it transparency is pretty important to me. So I'll just tell it like it is. And
things like that happen sometimes too, right? And you just got to do the best you can to avoid it. And then when it does happen, you just got to do the best you can to deal with the situation.
And there's another component that goes into that, is that your pH is calling the wind for you, right? And he was like, dude, sorry. He's like, the wind. He even said this because, I said, and I forgot this part of the story because it is important. Like I said, I wasn't, that third leg of the tripod not being on the ground it affected my confidence a little bit, because I'm just like, okay, this is a long shot, and I'm not 100% still. But he called the wind, and after I took the shot, he's like, dude, the wind is swirling up there, because we're down in the river bottom shooting up onto this mountain. He's like, the wind's completely different up there. He's like, I screwed that up for you, sorry. So while I'm saying, I wasn't the most comfortable, I want to be 10 out of 10 on comfortable. That was, to me, that was an 8, as far as how I was feeling taking the shot. And but he was like, the bullet was right on line where it was supposed to be, just the windage was off. And he's like, I told you the wrong wind. He's like, that's not the same up there. So he took ownership of that, but
Well, and luckily it didn't turn into too big of a rodeo out there, and you got a dead kudu out of it. And that is also the benefit of using a good quality bullet like that. Even if it's a little bit off, it still caused a whole lot of damage to him and ended up killing him.
Oh yeah. He was going to die either way. In my opinion, the dog just, escalated it got all that blood pumping out of him. And I mean, as soon as we arrived there, the dog was just licking the dead kudu, trying to bite the ticks off of him. So,
did you end up taking anything else on this Africa hunt?
I'm trying to think if I shot anything else. I think I only shot those 3 things on this trip.
Okay. So mountain zebra at 220, red lechwe at 280, and a kudu at 575. I assume that bullet on the kudu exited as well?
It did. Yeah.
So with that shot, depending on your elevation and all that stuff, you're getting close to the minimum recommended impact velocity on that partition out that far, but you're still above it. And looked like it clearly did what it was supposed to do and all of that stuff. So that's probably kind of right at the outside edge of what you should be shooting with the partition, but it still works though.
Yeah. And we I think we talked about that when you initially came on my show, and we were talking about the partition, and that you were a fan of it, and it's not an extreme long distance design.
No. It's expensive and it's not great at long distance, but at the same time, it works really well for like 95% of what people need it to do. And if you need something different, then you just get something different and you go with that.
Yeah, but you're also limited. So, you think about if you had the access to just take whatever your ammunition can into your truck with you, you'd be like, oh, I'm going to pick this one, today because we might be shooting further. You're going to Africa. You just have to take one bullet, and that's just got to get it done for whatever it is. You're, the big game that you're hunting, plains game anyway.
Yeah.
You're not switching.
Well, so you ended up going on an elk hunt also later this year. Did you take your 300 Win Mag on that hunt too?
I did. I took a different Mossberg Patriot. This was a long range tactical. And, but yeah, still same 300 Win Mag, and I'm shooting suppressed. That was another thing. If folks are interested in traveling to Africa and taking their own firearm, suppressor, super easy. You just put it on your I forget the name of the form.
4457.
4457.
Yeah.
So you can have that suppressor put on that same one as your rifle. One piece of paperwork, boom. They don't give you any hassle. So that was my first time traveling with internationally with a suppressor.
Okay,
but
good deal.
No hiccups there. But yeah, so I wanted to do a free range elk hunt, and I've hunted elk in New Mexico, Wyoming, Montana, and Colorado, and now Texas. And so I wanted to do a free range West Texas elk hunt. They're very expensive, and my friends over at Mossberg helped me out with that. And get out there, and hunting was pretty slow. Found a couple bulls that were bugling, but they didn't really do anything for them. I've killed bigger bulls with my bow, honestly. And so I was just like, no, I'm not interested in that. And I think it was day 4, we are driving from one side of the ranch to another, and this is a 100,000 acre ranch. It's a massive place, and there's different camps. Like if you want to go to a different camp, it takes you 2.5 hours to drive there in some situations. So we're driving across this sage brush flat that looks like it just goes on for as far as the eye can see. And we come up, we didn't even like mentally make note of this, that there was just a clump of like mesquite trees, and maybe it was 50 yards long by 20 yards wide. And we're just driving in the truck, and all of a sudden we just see ass and mass just jump out on the road in front of us. And then as quick as this bull was in the road, he was back into that brush, which apparently was where he was living. And we spooked him out of there, and then he jumped right back in. We saw the mass on this thing, and the guy that lives there, the guide, was like, we got to shoot that bull. Did you see that? And I was like, yeah, this looks super. It looks great. And we haven't seen anything else. I'm like, yeah, it's slam dunk. No doubt about it. And it didn't take me long to find him. He's, I could see him through some very thick brush. But I'm like, dude, I'm on him. I'm on his front shoulder. I can see his left main beam. It looks really good. Lots of mass. He's like, shoot him. So I shoot him. He's 40 yards away, and he just drops. He's done. It's over. And that was with the. But I did switch bullets on that trip. I took the 180 grain AccuBond on that trip, and it just ultimately, with that other rifle, I mean, I was getting a 1-inch group, and I was just like, okay, this is, and I hadn't shot it before, but I was like, I'm going to try this out. And it was performing so well at the range. I was like, well, I'm going to take this on that hunt. And so we walk up on this thing, and it's dead. And I'm like, something's not right here. And I start looking at it. I'm like, it's kind of reddish, like, and then I see like its right main beam kind of has a crown on it. And I'm still, I don't know that, there's the potential for anything else to be going on here. And I text the picture to a longtime friend of mine who just randomly happened to be guiding 2 aoudad hunters on that ranch while I was there. They were just staying at a different side. So I sent it to my buddy, and he's like, oh yeah, that's one of those, he's like, that's one of those elk stag hybrids they have out here. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, they're apparently the Cibolo Ranch some years ago kicked out a bunch of red stag into their elk herd, and now he's like, they're real weird. They can't, they don't really bugle. They don't really roar either. It's like this weird thing they try to do. He's like, it's funny when you hear it. And also when I shot him, two cows ran out, and they looked like elk to me. But he just had it. It was just really, his coat was too reddish. But his face was dark. Like a red stag's face is lighter than an elk. Elk's dark brown muzzle. And this thing had that, and had other, characteristics of an elk, but it was definitely a cross. And so they, cause I was initially disappointed. I mean, this is a really cool animal. To send you a picture of it. It's got mass out the wazoo, but I was like, I was here for an elk, and they got it, and they kind of felt, a little bad. And so they're bringing me back for a mule deer hunt in January. Just as like a, hey, there's a olive ranch and it was a really cool ranch and we had a great hunt. It was just like I didn't know that I had needed to be looking at, possibly something else, right?
So how did that elk stag cross compare body wise to a mature bull elk?
Oh, it was like the same size.
Yeah.
And red stag traditionally can be, 20% less. I looked all this up afterwards because like that thing, everything about it other than the color and then the just the crown on that.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, because I was just like, maybe it's just been, rolling around in some red dirt or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But then, we're like, no, this is just not adding up. But this was the size of a Rocky Mountain bull elk. I mean, it was
a big animal.
I would say 700 pounds. It was massive.
So you shot him in the shoulder, close to broadside at about 40 yards, right?
Yeah.
And he just went down. That was the end of it.
Yeah.
What'd that bullet do to him?
We actually did recover that bullet.
Oh, interesting. Recovered on the offside shoulder?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you could just see like the shockwave just go through his body. It's like, and then, how they do the thing where they're just, lights out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, from that close, I mean, it was just thumped him.
So was that a heart lung hit on that stag elk?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. So both 300 Win Mag stories we told about with Africa, and then your Texas elk hunt, unusual but possible.
Right.
They don't have a hunting season for elk here. They're managed like exotic game. You can hunt them in July if you were so inclined.
Yeah, and some people, I would say the majority of comments on social media were like, "Well, that's cool. That's way cooler than an elk. You get like a hybrid. You like." And I'm just like, I kind of have my heart set on an elk, and I've shot a red stag in Argentina, and so, But everyone thought it was pretty, and it is a really beautiful animal. I mean, It's just very different and unique. But yeah.
Well, tell me about your experience more recently with the new Nosler Whitetail Country ammo on that hog.
Yeah, so that was last weekend, opening weekend of gun season in Texas, and I'm sitting in my blind, and I've seen some young deer, bucks, up and comers, but not anything I was interested in. And I'd gotten pictures of, and so this feeder has hog panels around it, but I kept getting pictures of this one big black boar always on the outside, and you can see where there's like a little horseshoe shape in a couple of the sections of hog panels where he's been pushing on it, trying to get in. And so I knew he was around, but the cameras are more pointed at the feeder, so just be like on the opposite side, you like see him off and on. The only hog I ever see there. And I had one young 8-point that was trying to work his way into the feed pen, and then all of a sudden he got real nervous, and I'm thinking, oh cool, here comes a bigger buck, right? Like something's spooking him. No, it was that hog. And so this boar comes out and kind of mills around and then walks right into my shooting lane, and I videoed, and I was like, big boar about to go down, and squeezed one off at, I think it was 100 and feeders at 140, and he was probably 120. And he dropped, fell on his side, kicked his legs up in the air, and I don't know how he did this, but he got up and ran off. But I was like, you're dead, and I didn't even reload or anything. And he ran like 20 yards, crashed into some cedars, then rolled out into right next to the hog, the feeder pen, and fell over dead.
Yeah, you sent me that video. That was a pretty wild reaction he had, where he went down like that. Like you said, he got up, and then went into the tree, and then reared up, and then just fell over. So it was a lot of drama for him to go 10 yards.
I was like, there's no way this thing is like really going to run off here. It's like, I know where the crosshair was when I squeezed that one off, and there's no way. So he was dead on his feet. I mean, like you just described, he didn't go very far.
What cartridge was that?
Oh, it was a 6.5.
6.5 Creedmoor? Okay.
Yeah.
So 140 grain 6.5 Creedmoor. Yeah. You shot it with. Where'd you end up hitting that hog?
So he was quartering slightly away, and I put it. That one it entered probably 4 inches in front of the front shoulder. So angling back, it went through the vitals, and then hit in the opposite shoulder, but didn't hit the front shoulder. Just that was through the vitals, and then
did that one exit?
That one did exit.
Yeah. How big was that hog?
That pig was. He didn't weigh as much as me, and I'm about 205. I'm thinking he was probably 170.
Mm-hmm.
So a decent sized boar.
Yeah, he looked like what I would call a good sized boar, not giant, but a good healthy sized boar like that. Pretty big one, especially kind of challenging to get it out of there by yourselves.
Yeah. No, I tied him up with a tow rope and drug him off.
And so you ended up hit him in the lungs with it. What sort of damage did it do?
That one didn't completely eviscerate the lungs, but they were bad shape. Just coagulated blood everywhere, and an internal crime scene like you would hope to have.
So what is your initial impressions of the new Whitetail Country ammo based off of just this one experience with it?
Yeah. So, and I was talking with Maddie afterwards. She was like, "Hey, did you have a chance to use it on a deer yet?" And I was like, "No, I shot a hog with it." And I told her, I sent her the video, and she asked, "Did the bullet exit?" And I was like, "Yeah." She goes, "Good. That's what we want. We want a blood trail. We want we want the bullet to exit. That's what it's designed to do." So she was glad to hear that.
So I've shot it into gel. I haven't actually gone hunting with it yet, but I've been impressed with how it did in gel. It penetrated really well, and it made a really big wound cavity on it. Not as deep of penetration as you would get with like a Nosler Partition.
Right.
It's still really good though. And I have it loaded up and sighted in my rifle, and I'll be going deer hunting here in another week or two, and that's what I'm planning on taking out hunting. Yeah.
Well, and they have quite a few calibers. I think, based on how it does, I would assume that they'll have 300 Win Mag, 7 Mag, 243. But what at the most, I think the calibers out right now is 308, 6.5. You got 270, 30-06.
Yep.
They have 350 Legend for straight walled cartridges.
Yep.
And I think I'm missing one, maybe
708.
Yeah.
And 4570 actually.
Oh yeah, 4570.
Yeah.
That one's a little more expensive though. All of those traditional cartridges are coming. I think they're $34.95, and then the straight walls are a little bit more, they're like $39.99 or something.
Yeah, the 4570 is $39, and the 350 Legend is $34.
Okay.
Same as the other ones.
So that's a cool thing, right? Super affordable.
Mm-hmm. A whole lot less than a Partition, where you're paying a considerable sum of money for it. Even so, the cheapest thing I've been able to find from Nosler, other than this, is the ballistic tip, and even that's going $40-$50 a box. So this is definitely significantly less, and it seems like it works really well for its intended use.
Yeah. And I've got a box of the ballistic tip right here. This is 6.5 Creedmoor, and I have not shot anything with this yet, but just got an AR-10 built that's it's interchangeable 6.5 or 308 barrel.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And since I have a ton of 6.5 ammo, that's what I'm going to start. And I just put the thermal scope on there, so it's going to be the pig rig. So I should have some feedback on the ballistic tip, maybe as early as this weekend. I don't know. There's plenty of hogs around. So
okay, good deal. Yeah, I've shot the 165 ballistic tips out of my 308, and I haven't killed anything with it yet. But my goodness, they're the most accurate ammo I've ever shot out of that rifle.
Really?
Yeah, and I killed actually 2 hogs with 180 grain ballistic tips out of my 300 Win Mag a couple years ago. They also shot great. Very impressive results with both of them. Not like especially challenging situations. I shot one hog at about a little over 100 yards with it. Standard on the shoulder shot, hit it, boom, just dumped it right there. And it was in a big herd. And so all the other ones took off running, and I took a flyer at one that was running. Well, it wasn't a flyer, it was an aim shot, but it turns out that I missed. But I went out and I was following up that second hog to see if I could find it, see if I found blood or anything like that. And so I'm walking down this pipeline, looking on the edge, and I'm not seeing anything. And then I hear something moving behind me, and I look and turn around behind me, and another hog had run out of the pipeline from the other side, run all the way to my side, stopped, looked at me, and saw me, and then turned around. Instead of keep going where it was, it could have just ducked right into the brush and decided to run all the way back across the pipeline. And so I actually shot at it while it was running, and I put a little bit too much lead on it, and it was maybe 30, 40 yards. I ended up shooting this hog in the head as it was running, and it did a crazy flip and went into the woods and everything. I wish I would have gotten the whole thing on video because it was cool.
Oh yeah,
but neither one of those hogs. That one, like I said, did a flip, so it went a little bit after I shot it, but it was dead right there. And the other one I just dumped. Both bullets exited. Especially the one I shot in the head, didn't do any meat damage to it at all. But the first one, I was surprised that it just scrambled the vitals on it, but it didn't leave just a gigantic wound cavity around it. It was certainly, there was some meat loss and all of that stuff, but just kind of worked out with the shot angle that I took it at and where I ended up hitting it. I was able to save most of the meat off of the shoulders of that hog.
Well, let's talk ethics, John. Do you save every hog you shoot?
I try to, especially those were both good, say 75-ish pound hogs that were, good eaters like that. I could see a situation where you are out there and you really get into a bunch of hogs, or you shoot a couple of really big ones or some really, really small ones, how you might not take the meat off of those.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I drug that boar off and fed with the coyotes, and I was just asking because I probably shoot 30 hogs in a year. Mm-hmm. What am I going to do with 30 hogs? People are like, oh, I'll take the meat. Okay. Well, are you going to drive to my deer lease and come get it? Because I don't have a walk-in cooler there. And especially like when I shoot the most of them is in the spring and summer when the winter wheat's really coming in. Mm-hmm. It's hot. If you shoot 3 hogs in a night, like they need to be cleaned immediately.
Yeah.
Like people are always like, oh, I'll take them. Well, okay. It's not really logistically. There's problems with that. Now, if you could donate wild hog meat, I would do that with every one of them, but you can't.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's a nuisance. Our landowners like, please shoot them on site. Like we're trying to grow winter wheat here.
I'm definitely not going to judge you for doing that.
I'm just, it's one of those things about hunting. It's like, oh, there's still people that say, oh, if you're not going to eat it, don't shoot it. And they'll say that about a coyote. And I'm like, well, no, it's a coyote. And like,
especially here in Texas with the number of hogs that you have, and especially there's so many circumstances where it is true pest control, getting after them. Save the meat or don't. You're not required to by law in the state of Texas. And so it's
good. I enjoy it, but I usually have one in the freezer or 2. I'm not 100% proponent of eating wild pork. It's amazing, but there's a limit to that.
Yeah, that is definitely true. But so in any case, we talked about the partition. Great penetration. Did a lot of damage to the vitals of those animals. The elk you shot with the AccuBond, recovered it, but that was a real close range shot. The AccuBond penetrates well, but not as well as the partition. What'd that bullet look like when you pulled it out, by the way?
Oh man, I wish I had it right here. I think it's in my truck. But it was just like pedaled and just kind of like you could see where the bullet kind of started to peel back, and then just kind of like a wad like there. Just I don't know if that's a very good description of it, but
so this isn't a Nosler partition, but did it look kind of like that?
Yeah, very similar to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so traditional kind of mushroom shape, which you would picture. What did that partition look like that you recovered from the zebra?
I don't know. I think I have a picture of it on my phone, but now you're asking me to remember things. I don't want to lie to you. I honestly don't remember what it looked like. I mean, I remember in the moment thinking, "Oh, that's cool," but I don't recall.
But glad to hear the Nosler Whitetail ammo worked well for you. You got a good exit out of it. That hog didn't go very far, and a hog is, pretty tough compared to a deer as well. And it's
definitely tougher than a deer.
Yeah, and you're asking a lot out of it to to perform like that at closer range like that, and that thicker hide, and that was a big bodied bore,
and that was with a 6.5 Creedmoor, and I don't know why I thought 7 mag earlier, but 6.5 140 grain bullet, which that's on the higher end of 6.5 options. But I think you get a 143 maybe is the highest.
Yeah, as far as factory loads go, yeah. But like aside from that Hornady ELDX, 140 is normally kind of where things top out with the typical factory load for it.
So
but
it packs a punch for sure.
Well, let me know how things go with the ballistic tips on the hogs, and I'm interested to hear what your experiences are with them. As we wrap up, tell the audience where people can go to get more info about you and all the stuff that you do.
Yeah, just Lone Star Outdoor Show across all social media websites, just LoneStarOutdoorShow.com, and you can find the podcast wherever you listen to stuff, John.
All right, that sounds good. Well, Cable, it was great having you on the show. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that, found it interesting and useful. Be sure to check out the Lone Star Outdoor Show wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out Cable's Instagram account as well. You can see photos from some of those hunts we talked about if you go back far enough in there. If you enjoyed this episode, also make sure you sign up for my email list. To do that, click the link in the show notes or go to huntingguns101.com. Sign up there for my free ebook on the best hunting calibers. You'll get that ebook when you sign up, plus you'll also start to receive the emails I send out every weekday. If you like the podcast, especially episodes like this, you will love those emails. So make sure you are getting them too. Go to huntingguns101.com, sign up there. Remember, you can make your dream hunt turn into a reality, and we can help. Thanks for listening. We'll see you back here next time on the Big Game Hunting Podcast.
This show may be over, but we have plenty more for you on our website. For more information on today's topic, as well as lots of other useful hunting resources, head over to the BigGameHuntingBlog.com. We look forward to having you back for the next episode. But until then, happy hunting.